Hey guys, want to show your support to the channel and get some awesome rewards at the same time? Then go check out my Patreon page where at whatever tier you choose that fits your budget, you'll get plenty of rewards such as updates and announcements on the regular, exclusive sneak peeks of my videos before they go up online, get yourself credited, and receive a special shout out at the end of my videos and more. Go to patreon.com/Ackleyattack427's to start pledging today. And don't forget to also check out and consider gifting me any items I have listed on my Amazon wishlist and even supporting me on my Streamlabs tipping page that'll also help support the channel directly. Links are in the description box below as well as on my link tree for you to check out. Thank you and enjoy today's video. Take care. Hey guys, like what we do on our channel and want to see more videos from us? Then not to worry about a thing. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as turning on the notification bell so that way you can see more of our videos coming up very soon. Thank you and enjoy today's video. Hey guys, this is Ackleyattack4427 here with a brand new thoughts video for all of you guys, and well, I guess pretty much since after such an incredible time I had at Kinshoku-Con by far this past weekend for sure, it looks like it's finally back to basics on my part for sure. So yeah, I guess with that pretty much wrapping up the amount of cons that I've actually been to for of course this year for sure. I figure right up until this year ends for what it is for sure. I think I would pretty much brush myself up of course on everything that I have to do before the rest of this year comes to a close for sure. So yeah, and of course, if you have seen my recent Kinshoku-Con videos that I've posted very recently, yeah, I really appreciate you guys tuning in for those, and don't worry about a thing, more of those will be coming up sometime later this weekend for sure, and I will do pretty much what the pickup episode on the stuff that I got while I was there for sure. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that, because that will be coming very soon for sure. So yeah, I think it's all I could say, of course, on that front for sure, just to really get that out of the way for sure. But I guess right up until then, pretty much when that comes around for sure, looks like pretty much I think I might as well return to, of course, doing what I do normally, which is actually catching a new movie that just came out very recently for sure. So yeah. I mean, hey, I gotta do something before this year wraps up for sure, and looks like we're delivering exactly that. And boy, it looks like for today's movie we're gonna be talking about, well, I guess we have been anticipating for this for some time, and well, I guess it is quite obvious because, yeah, pretty much got on this nice, pretty much t-shirting everything to really showcase that, and yeah, I guess obviously enough, it does say Wicked on there, to which, yes, by the way, it looks like, it is, of course, pretty much what we're talking about here today. We're not just going to be talking about Wicked once again, for sure, but quite fitting enough, I think we might as well make our way back to, of course, the land of Oz once again, for sure, right? To pretty much finish up on what we started up on, oh, excuse me. So, yeah, to pretty much finish what we started right around a year ago, for sure. So yeah, looks like we started this journey last year, and it looks like for this year, we're finally coming to a close with, of course, this one. So yeah. So I guess we might as well return to the land of Oz to, of course, bring about this epic conclusion to this epic musical duology with, of course, Wicked once again. But this time around, of course, today's movie we're going to be talking about, which is, of course, Wicked for Good. So yeah, that is, of course, what we're going to be talking about here today. Not only is this the latest film that just came out as we speak by the time this video goes live, for sure, but it's also, surprisingly enough, the long-awaited second part to, of course, pretty much the movie for sure that we got last year, to which in turn is, of course, based around the iconic Broadway musical of the same name. So yeah, it's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front. Alright then, well. So yeah, before we can go ahead and talk about this latest movie, I might as well get you guys up to speed, of course, pretty much Wiki in general for sure, and yeah, I guess pretty much of anything, has I've actually mentioned in my thoughts video that I did on the first film last year. Yeah, what can I say about Wicked that a lot of people haven't already for sure. Even to this day, even after 2 decades since it actually first opened, there's no doubt in my mind that Wicked is in fact one of the most well-known Broadway musicals that we all know and love for sure, and it is actually for good reason, for sure. Pretty much having the Hagga be based around the Gregory Maguire book of the same name, while having, of course, tie-ins with, of course, The Wizard of Oz in general. I say it really is one of the most fascinating musicals that we've actually gotten for quite some time now, for sure. So yeah, and through my experience with, of course, Wicked, like I said, I only saw the touring company of That's a Musical twice back in the early 2010s, for sure, and to me, I actually really enjoyed That's a Musical for sure, and yeah, I think it really did the job very well from what I can gather, and I really do admire it for being such a really, pretty much a really great musical for sure, So yeah, and given for the fact that I, alongside plenty of others, have actually grew up with, of course, The Wizard of Oz in general, I say this is actually a really nice, pretty much twist of course, the iconic story, while giving everything from a different point of view, to which in this case, mainly from the perspective of Elphaba, who would later go on to be the Wicked Witch of the West, for sure, so yeah. And of course, if you may recall, last year I did actually talk about the first film that I talked about for sure, and yeah, I stand by my point and what I have to say. I really enjoyed the first film for what it is, and yeah, despite the fact that it's mainly taking liberties from, of course, the first act of course, the musical, see if how it was, of course, the first of a two-parter from what I could gather. I think it really did the job very well, for sure, with not only a really great story, interesting characters, great musical numbers, and amazing performances from the actors, particularly from, of course, Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba and Ariana Grande as Glinda. Yeah, that alone makes it an outstanding movie all the way, and yeah, I stand by my point in when I first talked about That's a movie right around last year, that I actually really enjoyed it for sure, so yeah, but of course, if you want pretty much much more in-depth analysis of what I thought of the first film in general, and why I really loving back then, even nowadays for sure, then go watch my thoughts video that I did last year to really help give you the idea, hands down. So yeah. And I guess given to that thought alone, since after the first film, you back at that a lot like everyone else, I was actually really hyped for, of course, this movie for sure. And I'm really quite curious to see on how they're going to pull off the second half of course, the musical in general for sure, and yeah, and how they're actually going to pretty much take some liberties on what the first film did, and actually amplifying for, of course, this film. And, well, luckily enough, pretty much that is, of course, why I wanted to get myself in for pretty much where I want to going for, of course, this movie for sure, so yeah. And, of course, luckily enough, right around earlier today, we actually did exactly that because my mom and my grandmother pretty much hung out for, of course, a very special double feature screen of both movies in general. So yeah. You heard right there, folks. Not only did we actually pretty much got to check out the first film again on the big screen, which is actually quite nice, but luckily enough, right around afterwards, we did get ourselves in to catch this movie immediately afterwards for sure. So yeah, that is pretty much what we did, hands down, and you bet I'm looking forward to it. Pretty much when I first got myself in, hands down. So yeah, and of course, luckily enough, yeah, I think you can pretty much get the idea, of course, that front. So yeah, now that of course we got out of course seeing this movie for sure, I guess a lot of you guys may be wondering, what do I think of this movie now that I finally got the chance to see it? Well, I guess I will admit one thing and one thing only. I guess in comparison to, of course, this film for what it is, I actually do surprisingly like pretty much this movie from what I can gather. I mean, I can't say it's actually a great hands down, but I actually do think it's good. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way I can put it by far. I actually thought this movie was good. Not great, just good. To which, honestly, I think that's probably the best way I can actually put it hands down for sure. So yeah. For while I can't necessarily say it's actually as strong as its predecessor from what I can gather, in fact, I do know it pretty much does have a few bumps and issues I actually do have with it that almost kind of derailed the flick a bit from what I can gather. I still think it is actually a pretty good movie in my opinion. Not necessarily perfect for what it is, but I do think it's actually pretty good nonetheless. So yeah, to which I guess in all fairness, I think that's probably the best way I can actually put for of course this movie as a whole. So yeah, it's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front. Alrighty then, well, now that we got the short version out of the way, I guess I'll go ahead and talk about everything that I need to talk about for sure. To which, for starters, is of course the story, and yeah, I guess to me, I think with what they did with the story for, of course, this one, I really do think it is structured out quite nicely from what I can gather. Yeah, mainly, of course, like on what they did with the first film, they actually took the entirety of Act 2 of the musical, hands down, to really craft pretty much a story for, of course, this movie, and yeah, I really do think they did a nice job, and of course, doing exactly that for sure. And yeah, I will admit, pretty much in a good number of areas, I do kind of felt that there are some parts in it that I do kind of felt are actually pretty much weak, and they could have been cut out entirely to save us so much time. Or maybe I think there are some parts again where I do think they could have used a little fine-tuning here and there to make it all the more great, so that way we can actually have something really fantastic, hands down, for sure. So yeah, but the rest I will have to say, it is actually very nicely structured out from what I can gather for sure, and yeah, pretty much the majority of that is mainly setting up everything that happens during the Wizard of Oz story, and not much else from what I can gather, but I really do like that they actually kept the focus mainly on, of course, everything that happened throughout Act 2 of Wicked, hands down, and really tried to bring in something fresh and relevant, pretty much for its to do its own thing, hands down. So yeah, that's pretty much what I can say, of course, on that front, hands down. So So yeah, like I said, maybe I think it could have used a little fine-tuning here and there from what I could gather, but I really do think they did crafting a pretty good story from what I can gather. And not to mention the writing, I have to say, as another aspect, I can pretty much make the same argument hands down. I really do think they really actually crafting a really good enough script to actually really pretty much make it all the more pretty much interesting for sure. And yeah, like I said, I wish there could have been some parts in it that could have used a little fine-tuning here and there, or maybe some things that could have been fixed up a whole lot more to make it all the more great, which could have actually resulted in a much better movie, hands down. But then again, I really do like what they had going for hands down, and yeah, for while it's not necessarily perfect for what it is, I really do think they did have some good enough material that they actually worked with hands down. And not to mention a few bits of comedy, yeah, pretty much another aspect I should mention is that a few bits and pieces of comedy that they added in addition to that, I will admit they did actually get pretty much a good laugh from what I can gather for sure. And yeah, not all of them pretty much has hit a home run hands down, but I did laugh at a good number of jokes that did work hands down, and even the comedic moments did make me chuckle for sure. So yeah, but at least it's what I could say on my front hands down. So yeah, I think it's pretty much what I can say for, of course, those three aspects in a nutshell for sure. Like I said, I think they could have reworked them a bit to really make it all the more great, hands down for sure. But I really do like what they were going for, hands down, and I actually didn't mind the changes and aspects that they did in comparison to the stage show to make it its own thing, hands down, to which I think is probably the best way I can actually put it, hands down. So yeah, at least that's probably what I could say for those aspects in a nutshell. So yeah. Alrighty then, well, now that we actually got those out of the way, I guess we might as well move on to, of course, the next couple of things I need to talk about for sure, to which next up is, obviously enough, the characters. And yeah, I think with what I've actually seen, I really do think the characters in this movie, I think they have really grown a whole lot since the first Wicked movie, hands down for sure, and I do think each and every single one of them are still given some really nice development from what I've actually seen to really make them likable and interesting for sure, and I really do admire what they had to throw into the table from what I've actually seen, and I really do think they did a nice job with, of course, the characters to make them all the more identifiable for sure. So yeah, pretty much with, of course, some of the old ones that we got from the first film to some of the new additions that we actually got in this film, hands down, I really do think they are actually quite nice for sure. And yeah, I really do have a strong connection with, of course, the characters in, of course, this movie for sure. And I really do admire what they actually have to throw into the table for sure. So yeah, that's pretty much what I can say for the characters, hands down. Now, as for the actors that came aboard to play all these characters, yeah, I guess obviously enough, yeah, I really do think the actors in, of course, this movie, I really do think they gave off such really great performances, in my opinion, that I really do think still works quite well for sure. Like, of course, obviously enough with what I've actually pretty much with what I've said in the first film, I stand by my pointing, of course, saying that pretty much I still really enjoy both Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba and Ariana Grande as Glinda for sure. I really do think they really are the main driving force in the first Wicked movie, and I'm glad that is carried over in, of course, this movie, hands down. I really do admire their performance performances all the way, and yeah, pretty much with what they were going through in the first film, pretty much they had to really try to overcome the challenges in this film, hands down, and I really do think it actually works quite well, in my opinion. That I really do think is actually best suiting, hands down. So yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what I could say for Cynthia, Erivo, and Ariana Grande for sure. I'm glad to see they both really carried this movie quite well, like with what they did in the first film, hands down. And of course, the rest of the actors as well. I still stand by my point. Of course, what I had to say about them. Like, of course, Jonathan Bailey as Piero is still really great. Ethan Slater as Bach is very nicely done, and Marissa Bode as Nessa Rose. I really do think is actually quite nicely done, and of course, Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible is actually pretty good, and Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard, I still think is quite nicely done for sure. In fact, the latter of which really does go through a pretty interesting arc, and of course, this movie for sure, and you'll definitely see why. So yeah, and of course, some new additions that they actually got in for sure is that. Well, surprisingly enough, you're actually quite amazed to hearing is that, well, pretty much we do know in the first film we had Peter Dinklage as Dr. Dillamond, which is actually very nicely done. I do admire that casting choice, hands down. And of course, for this movie, we now have, of course, pretty much one recognizable character from The Wizard of Oz, which is, of course, the Cowardly Lion, to which in here is, of course, portrayed by Coleman Domingo, and yeah, to me, I really do think Coleman Domingo really gave a very nice performance as the Cowardly Lion for sure. Yeah, it's a really small, pretty much a pretty small role that they did in, of course, this film, hands down. But I really do think Coleman Domingo really gave a really great enough performance, hands down, for sure. That I really do think works quite well. And of course, this movie, hands down, and yeah, I really do admire that all the way. He really captured pretty much everything that we know about the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz for sure. That I really do admire all the way. So yeah. And before any of you guys pretty much go nuts in saying this, yes, I can confirm that Dorothy is in fact in this movie for sure, but I'm not going to pretty much say which actress actually portrayed Dorothy in, of course, this movie, because, well, obviously enough, I really don't want to give it all away for sure, but I guess pretty much of anything, I'm just only doing what the film did and not revealing the actress who played Dorothy for sure. And for, well, I guess we only see only a little bit of her hands down for sure. I really do think they did a fine enough job in showcasing Dorothy in the way the movie wanted to represent her, kind of like what they did in the stage musical, hands down for sure, but still mainly keep the focus mainly on, of course, both Elphaba and Glinda for sure. So yeah. That's pretty much what I could say, of course, on that front, hands down, so yeah, but you kind of get the idea, hands down, so yeah, I think with what I've actually mentioned, for sure, both the characters and the actors, I really do think they really did a nice job from what I can gather, and I really do think they really pulled it off all the way with what they had to endure, hands down, so yeah. It's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front. Alright. Alrighty then, well, now that we actually got those two out of the way, what else is there for me to talk about? Well, quite a whole lot, actually, so So yeah, obviously enough pretty much seeing how he is a musical, we should definitely mention the musical numbers and of course this movie for sure. And yeah, I think with what they did in the first film with some really great recognizable songs and of course Act 1 of the musical, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that the musical numbers in this movie taken directly from Act 2, I really do think they really pulled it off quite well for sure. And we do know pretty much the recognizable ones that we got, like of course Thank Goodness, Wonderful, As Long As You're Mine, No Good Deed, and of course obviously not For Good, just to name me a few. I really do think they really did an incredible job with, of course, the songs and the musical numbers, and of course, this movie for sure. And I really do think they really did a phenomenal job, and of course, pretty much amplifying them, pretty much in a way that works well for, of course, this movie. And I really do think they really did an impressive job with all those hands down for sure. So yeah, I really do think the songs in this movie are definitely as great as the ones we actually got from, of course, the first film, hands down, and really does keep, of course, what they did in the musical, but really pretty much amping up a big for the big screen for sure. So yeah, pretty much of anything, all the songs, and of course, this movie really works well by far. And oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, pretty much in addition to the all the songs from Act 2 of the musical, and of course this movie, they did also add in 2 new songs for sure. Those being No Place Like Home and The Girl in the Bubble. And to me, I really do think they are actually really good additions, and of course this movie for sure, that I really do think really helps flow out everything that goes on throughout the course of the movie, and actually expand upon, of course, what was pretty much what was lacking in the stage musical for sure. So yeah. So yeah, at least that's what I could say, of course, that front. So yeah. Yeah, I guess pretty much of anything, it's pretty much what I could say for the musical numbers, and of course this movie for sure. So yeah, and of course the production design for, of course, this movie, yeah, I really do enjoy it in the first film, and they really did an impressive job with that in this film, hands down for sure. So yeah, pretty much with what they did, with of course some really great set pieces they put together to some really nice location scouting for sure. I really do think they really did an impressive job with the film's production design, hands down for sure. And yeah, with pretty much those 2 that I've actually mentioned, hands down for sure. Yeah, they really did an impressive job putting all those together to really showcase pretty much on what it has to offer to make you feel like you are in the land of Oz for sure. And yeah, and that too alone is, of course, really does helping. Another aspect that I really do admire the most about this movie is that it pretty much took the really great world building that we actually got in the first film and actually expand on that in, of course, this film, hands down. So I think it is actually quite interesting that we actually get to see more of Oz that we never actually got to experience in, of course, this film, hands down. So yeah, that's probably what I could say, of course, that aspect alone. I really do admire that for sure. And even some others that I can say pretty much in regards to the production and design, like, of course, the costumes, I will have to say, definitely looks great for sure. And I really couldn't imagine myself being in those kinds of attire if I ever do set foot in Oz myself for sure. So yeah, but that's at least what I can say, of course, that front. So yeah, and of course, for the visuals and the effects, and of course, this movie, well, I guess I stand by my point. I still think they are actually pretty good, hands down, And yeah, I think they did a really good enough job, and of course, really trying to do everything they can to really make it all the more great for sure. And yeah, and for while I can't necessarily say it's by all means perfect, hands down, but yeah, I will say the visuals and the effects are still nicely done in my opinion, and I really do think it really helps blend in well with everyone's surroundings for sure. And even the CGI, pretty much for while I have to say, for while I can make the argument in my opinion that the CGI in, of course, this film is somewhat a little better than pretty much the CGI that we actually got in this, yeah, pretty much in the first film, hands down. Yeah, I do stand by my point that it's not by all means spectacular. I still think they really did a good enough job for sure. So yeah. Yeah, maybe a little better compared to the first film, but I stand by my point in saying that they don't necessarily look real, but they do look good, hands down, so yeah, that's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front, so yeah, and of course, for the direction in this film, from, of course, the film's director, John M. Chu, yeah, pretty much of anything, I really do think the direction that he's give to, of course, this film, I can give him credit that he really is giving up, yeah, pretty much giving off some really nice, hardworking effort to, of course, this film, like on what he did in the first film, hands down, but I think it does kind of lack a little bit that maybe I think he could have done a bit more to really try to drive this movie all the way for sure. But I'm not saying it's bad entirely. Oh, no. Yeah, I do know John M. Chu really has done a lot of good stuff in the past for sure. A couple of which I did already talk about for sure, and yeah, pretty much, I still know he had a bit of a rocky start in his film career for sure, but of course he did land some really great success for sure, like of course, pretty much with what he did with Crazy Rich Asians, In the Heights, and obviously enough, the first Wicked movie for sure. Yeah. He really has a lot going for hands down to really amplify, of course, his style as a director for sure. And in the case of this film, it's still nicely done, I'm not gonna lie, but not really enough to really drive all the way to land pretty much a powerhouse for sure, So yeah, but that's at least my opinion, hands down, from what I can gather, and I can't fault him for that, hands down, but at least it's what I could say on that front, so yeah, and of course the cinematography in, of course, this film, yeah, I really do think they did a really great enough job with, of course, the cinematography in this film, as it actually provides some really great camera shots that they actually worked with, hands down, that I really do think really flows out, of course, everything that goes on throughout the course of this movie for sure, and that's something I really do admire all the way, so yeah, and of course the film's aiming, I have to say, well, I think I will say it is actually good on its own, don't get me wrong, and there are some cuts and stuff that they dig that actually does work quite well. But however, I think pretty much the one thing that did kind of derail a little bit is that some parts where they did cut up pretty much throughout the course of A-ing for sure. I do kind of felt I do kind of felt it is a little bit too choppy from what I've actually seen, and they could have done a whole lot more to really fix things up a bit, to really try to make it all the more work for sure. Like, of course, there are some parts where the A is a little bit too rapid from what I can gather, that I really do think could have actually pretty much fixed up a bit, so that way it probably won't pretty much give us a massive migraine for sure. but some parts where they parts of this movie altogether, like of course in a good number of parts in most of the musical numbers for sure, and even some long and dramatic moments all the way, I still think actually worked quite well. So yeah, pretty much only has a few issues from what I can gather, but the rest of the editing is still nicely done for sure, and like I said, not necessarily great from what I can gather, but still worked quite well. And not to mention the film's pacing, I will have to say, yeah, I think I will admit, I think in a good number of areas, the film's pacing really does work out quite well, and really does flow out everything that goes on throughout the course of this movie. But I will admit, a few others I will strongly admit, I think could have been pretty much, could have gone for a little revision here and there to try to make it work all the way from what I've actually seen. And yeah, some parts in it that I really don't think worked quite well could have easily been cut up entirely, or maybe I think they could have actually done some stuff to maybe expand the film's running time all the way that really could work quite well in my opinion. So yeah, but that's at least what I can say, of course, that front, and I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking from what I can gather, so yeah, what can I say? I'm just nitpicking. I'm a nitpicker. Deal with it. So yeah, but that's at least what I could say, of course, that front for sure. So yeah, I think with everything that I've actually said, I think that will get you the idea on what I thought of this movie in general. So yeah, it's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front. Alright, so I guess with all that said and done, that's pretty much everything that I can say about this movie as a whole. So yeah, overall, Wicked for Good, for while I can't necessarily say it's actually as strong as, of course, the first film, hands down, and it does have many issues that did kind of derail it from, of course, being a great flick all the way, I still think it is actually a pretty good movie, in my opinion, that I really do think is actually nicely done from what I can gather, and yeah, I think it actually did result in something, well, not necessarily great for what it is, but of course, if the first Wicked movie pretty much showed that anyone can have a brain, a heart, and some courage, then I guess for the sake of this movie, for while not perfect for what it is, still makes us feel like there's no place like home, so yeah. Pretty much from what I've actually seen, it really does deliver quite nicely in, of course, what it has to offer to really conclude this epic duology for what it is, and I think it did deliver on that. Well, not great from what I can gather, but still nicely done from what I've actually seen for sure, so yeah. Yeah, I think I will admit pretty much in a good number of areas, I wish they could have actually done some stuff to really fix things up on, of course, a good number of areas where the film was lacking pretty much at its best, that did kind of prevent it from being a really great movie all the way, but a good number of areas where it actually does work altogether. I think that's what really matters, of course, my part for sure, and yeah, pretty much for what it is, yeah, like I said, I really don't think pretty much it actually resulted in a perfect flick, hands down. I still think it actually did result in a pretty good one that I really do think is actually quite nicely done, I'm not gonna lie, so yeah. And I think that's probably the best way I can actually put it, hands down. So yeah, it's not necessarily as strong as, of course, the first film, hands down, but I really do think it is actually a really good movie, nonetheless, and I really do think they really gave it their all to deliver on a pretty nice conclusion to this epic storyline that we got in the musical in movie form, and I think they did deliver on that quite nicely, I'm not gonna lie, so yeah. At least that's what I could say on, of course, that front, but is it worth the recommendation on my part? Honestly, yes, I do think so, so yeah, to me, I really, yeah, I think they could have done a whole lot more to make it a much more great movie for what it is. In fact, they already had the blueprint and everything to really make it stand out quite well, for sure. But I guess for what it is, I think it's still good enough for what it is that I really do think it's actually quite nice, So yeah, not necessarily as great as the first Wicked movie, hands down. In fact, I know if anything, I would definitely take the first movie any day for sure. But I really do think it is actually a really good, pretty much a follow-up for what it is, and that's okay in my book, hands down. And if that's something you're actually looking for, hands down, then I say this movie is definitely well worth the watch for sure. So yeah, pretty much if anything, if that's something you're looking forward to, and you're looking for something that could really give you a good enough time for what it is, then I say this movie is actually well worth checking out for sure. So yeah, like I said, it's not great like the first film, hands down, but it's still a good enough movie for what it is, and that's okay in my book for sure. So yeah, at least that's probably what I could say, of course, that front. So yeah, for my final score, yeah, I'm kind of being fair on, of course, this one, and I know I was critical in a good number of areas, but I think that's probably the best way I can put it. So, given to all that, I'm going to give Wicked for Good pretty much a 7.5 out of 10 as my final score for sure. Like I said, I can't necessarily say it's actually as great as, of course, the first Wicked movie for sure. But I really do think it is actually a good enough movie for what it is, and that's okay in my book, hands down for sure. So yeah, not perfect, but still a good enough movie for me to say there's no place like home, hands down. So yeah, at least that's what I could say, of course, that front. So yeah, and if that's something you're actually looking in for, yeah, if that's something you're actually looking for, hands down, and you want to give yourself a good enough time and see something that I know you'll love and admire as much as the first film, hands down, then, well, grab your broomstick and fly on in through the land of Oz to see this movie for yourself. So yeah, it's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front. Alrighty then, so yeah, now that, I guess with all that said and done, that's pretty much everything that I can say about this movie as a whole, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this latest thoughts video, and by all means, I want to ask all of you guys, what do you think of Wicked for Good? If you've actually seen it for yourself, for sure, do you absolutely really enjoyed it, and you think you enjoyed it as much as the first film, or pretty much say that it's not as great as the first film, but it's still good nonetheless, like what I thought of for sure? Or do you absolutely hate it and think pretty much, if anything, it really is an absolute waste of your time, hands down, and all that sort of stuff? Or are you somewhere in between, of course, this one, where you think it's not great, but not terrible either, for sure, but still gave a fine enough conclusion to this musical duology for what it is, so yeah, let me know what you thought of this movie down in the comments down below. I would love to know on what you guys think, so So yeah, that's pretty much what I can say, of course, that front. Thank you guys so much for watching this latest thoughts video, and whew, wow. Yeah, it looks like, if anything, we're finally done with these movies at long last, and boy, what an interesting trip that was for sure. Yeah, been several years in the making, hands out, and look at where we're at right now. Yeah, I'm glad to finally get these movies off my chest for sure, and yeah, I think it was a good enough time for sure. But I'm pretty sure I'll go over my experience finally seeing both those movies in another video one day for sure. So yeah, but I guess until then, the rest of my Kinshokukan videos will be up pretty soon, so definitely be on the lookout for those for sure, alongside pretty much a future What the Pickup episode, pretty much later on down the road, and for those who are wondering, don't worry about a thing in regards to my next thoughts video. I will shoot to probably see the new Now You See Me movie pretty much pretty soon for sure, because I've got a lot of catching up that I need to do, and yeah, I will probably shoot to see Zootopia 2 some point around after Thanksgiving for sure, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So yeah, but until then, be on the lookout for those for sure, and of course, alright, but till then, obviously enough, I guess quite enough, like what I did in the, right around a year ago when I went to see the first film. Looks like I actually got this really nice double-sided poster of course, this movie for sure. And I did say double-sided, hands down, because obviously enough, got one, of course, one side featuring Alphabot, and the other side featuring good old Glinda for sure. So yeah, I think that'll go great, hanging it alongside my poster that I got for the first film for sure. So I think I've got a lot to think about. If only I actually have a good enough wall space, hands out, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So yeah. So I guess right up until I'll get myself caught up in the next thoughts video, all I can say is, well, as usual, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Oh yeah, you're definitely going to go great being hung alongside the poster for the first film. Man, it feels great to finally see both those movies, and I know visiting Oz both times was totally worth it on my part. Special thanks to all of my supporters on Patreon for making today's video possible, including my top tier supporters for this month, VD. So if you want to be like these guys and show your support to us, then go to patreon.com/Ackleyattack427's to pledge now, do so, and get some awesome rewards within your budget. Hey guys, this is Ackleyattack4427 here. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Feel free to like, comment, and share if you enjoy what you're seeing. If you like what you see here and want to see more videos coming up, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and switch on the notification bell to get notifications, and select all notifications to be notified for when we post a new video. And don't forget to switch on notifications on your phone as well. Also, don't forget to check out my second channel and our 2-member channel with Sam the Thomas Fan 1, SamAttack4427 Productions, for plenty more content you can't find on here. You can check both of our channels out with the links or by our handles provided on screen. Feel free to shoot me an email with my email address provided, backley95@hotmail.com, if you want to ask me a question, want to collab with me for a project you've got in the works, or if you want to book me to be featured for a convention coming up. Follow me on my social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to keep up to date with me on updates, announcements, and new releases of my videos, as well as plenty of others I've got with my handles provided, as well as the links down in the description box below. Also, don't forget to follow me on TikTok for other videos I've got aside from the ones I've posted on YouTube, and on Twitch for any future live streams I've got coming up soon, as well as join our official Discord server to see what we've provided.
If you wish to show your support to me, then feel free to check out my Patreon to get sneak peeks of my videos coming up before they go up online, as well as getting access to updates and playing more, in addition to getting some awesome rewards within your budget. Also, don't forget to check out and show your support to me on my wishlist on Amazon, and even supporting me at streamlabs.com/AckleyattackTV/tip that you can find in the description box below, as well as on my Twitch page. And in case you can't find any of the links that are provided, then not to worry about a thing. All the links and stuff are also provided on my link tree that you can also find in the description box below, as well as a few selected number of my social media pages. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be sure to see you in the next video. Take care.